everyone, it's Zoe and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope everyone is having a great week so far. So today's video is going to be something that a lot of people have been waiting for. Now, the most popular makeup item of 2018, I would say, was probably the James Charles palette. Even though it came out later in the year, it sold out everywhere. I wasn't able to get my hands on it until literally last week. So here it is in all of its glory. Now, I have taken out of the original packaging, just warning you for this video, and I have already tested it out. So, just forewarning you that some of these shades have been already used. So, I'm going to open it up. It looks so pretty. Let's just say that first. There is a cover sheet that goes on it that describes each shade. You probably already know what all the shades are called and the full descriptions, like every James Charles fan, including myself. So, I find this palette absolutely gorgeous, and I will probably use a lot of these colors, maybe not some of these ones per se, but definitely a lot at the top, and I'm really looking forward to showing you guys what this palette can do today. So let's start off by swatching a few shades. Now, if you follow my Instagram, which you should, and I will leave you the handle at the end of the video, you've already saw the look that I'll be creating today, which will be using this dark blue with the dark green and the yellow. Now, these shades are very pigmented, and as you know from all of James' videos, these are pressed pigments, so they do have to be worked with in a certain way. I find that the best way to apply them is definitely use eye primer. Like, as he mentioned, eye primer for sure. And another thing is you do have to press a little harder, and some of the brushes that you would normally use for eye makeup routine might not necessarily work. Like, I find this brush works very well. As you can see, it's kind of like a rounded tip, and it does flatten, so if you push hard, the pigment really does come out. I wouldn't recommend a brush like this that's really fanny because it kind of spreads the pigment kind of a little too far around, and it might not be necessarily what you want. So I'm just gonna get started by swatching them. So I'm gonna swatch this red shade here. Now, James has mentioned that this red is like a true red, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how this looks. All right, full reveal. Wow. Yeah, that is red. Get a little more here. But, oh wow, yeah, okay. So if you want a red eyeshadow, you got it with this palette. It is definitely super dark, super pigmented, and it'll definitely work if you really want a red shade. Okay, now I'm gonna swatch this shade here. Let's see how this one looks. This is kind of, you can see like a purpley reddish. It's this one right here. Let's see how this looks. With the pigment, arm. Wow, that's pretty pigmented. I'm gonna add a little bit more just to fill it out. But yeah, that is pretty pigmented. So far, I am super impressed with the pressed pigments. Now, this is something fairly new and that has not been tried a lot before, so I am super happy with this, and also kind of proud of the Morphe team and James for, you know, having them being and looking this good. All right, so now I'm gonna test out some of the shimmer shades. Now, I really think this one here looks super pretty. You can see that. So I'm going to swatch a bit of that one. Doesn't that look gorgeous? That looks absolutely stunning. Okay, see how it looks here. Wow. So far, this palette has not had one shade that I would say is like, so far, like bad or like worse than the rest. Now, I do know that this shade here, which is based off of James's blank canvas look, is more of like a tan shade. So I know for me at least that it probably won't show up because it didn't show up on him, and I actually have tried it and it doesn't really show up. But for a lot of people who may have darker skin, that shade will work well, especially for blending. All right, now another color in the palette that everyone has been dying to test out, including myself, is the white. James mentioned, and he showed in his video, that this white is super pigmented and kind of doesn't get lost. A lot of whites kind of don't either show up or they don't really blend well. He said this white is a good true white. So I'm just gonna swatch some of this here. So far it looks pretty pigmented. We're just gonna do this right below this one. That's pretty white. I mean, whites I know are harder to make, so the fact that it's that pigmented, I'm really impressed. I'm just gonna add a little bit more here. Yeah, That looks really good. So far with all the swatches, I am super impressed with this palette. Definitely the pigmentation is amazing, which is what the palette is known for. So now I'm gonna go ahead and start with the eye look. This video is not gonna be so much of a tutorial, more of kind of testing out the palette. If you wanna know how I normally do my eye makeup, make sure to check out last week's video. I will leave the link below. I will show in that video all my eye tips that I do on a normal day, and it's really helpful, especially if you wear glasses, which this channel is all about. I know today's not so much for the average glasses wearer, but come on, had to review this palette. It's like, how could you not? I'm just gonna go wash off all the swatches and I'll be right back to start the video. So the first step today is definitely eye primer. I'm gonna be using the Revlon Photo Ready Eye Primer in shade number 3. So you can see here, you know I like this one, especially because I wear glasses, because it has a paint tip, so you can really paint it on, especially for cut creases. You can be pretty precise. However, I am just priming my eyes today, so it doesn't have to be perfect. I kind of just have to get it in the relative eye area. So I'm going to start by applying the eye primer all over my eyelid, and then I'm just going to blend it all out. Then I'm going to use the rounded brush to apply the shade Cola all over my eyelid. You want to remember when you're working with pressed pigments to really press hard so all the pigment comes through off the brush and onto your eye. Next, I'm going to use a flat, rounded brush and go in with the dark green shade, which is called Daddy. Just to let you know, there is a lot of fallout with this palette, so it is important to have a Kleenex on hand. So now, I'm going to take that green shade and put it into my eye crease directly above the blue. Now, I'm going to go in with a flat angled brush using the yellow shade called B and putting that directly above the green shade. This shade is the last shade we'll be using, so it's really important to have it pop the most and have it fan out closer to your eyebrow. Now I just want to let you know today I will not be blending the colors together to create a smooth ombre look because I really want you to see how the pigments pop. Now I'm going to go back in with the dark blue using a small rounded brush and just apply it all along my waterline. Then I'm going to use the same brush and use the green to blend it in just below the blue. Then I'm going to use the same brush to go in with the yellow shade. I'm going to put this just below the green to blend it all together. I want to connect this from corner to corner so the eye looks complete. Alright, so that is this eye done. Now I'm going to go to the other eye off camera as well as curl my lashes and apply some mascara. This is the eye look all complete. Remember, I didn't blend so you can see the full pigmentation. Alright, now that the look is all done, it's time for my final thoughts. So overall, I definitely give this palette probably about a 9 out of 10. Now, you're probably like, wow, 1 point short, what's wrong with it? There's definitely, I'd say, nothing really wrong with it. The only problem that I face with it is that there is definitely a lot of fallout. Now that is easily fixable. All you have to do is take a tissue or a Q-tip and just wipe it away, but it does occur. If that's a big problem for you, that's just something you should know. Another thing is the colors in the palette, I'd say, I know his saying is unleash your inner artist, but for the everyday person, this might not be the most reasonable color shade that you would use. So if you're definitely someone who doesn't do total colors and all that stuff, there's probably a different palette anywhere, any brand that would probably be better for you just because there is a lot of colors in this palette. Not saying that colors are a bad thing, it's just something that I don't normally use and that a lot of people don't use either. Another slight downside to the palette is you do need certain brushes. Now, a lot of people do already have these brushes in their collection, but if you don't, it is a little extra money that you will have to spend. The palette is $50 Canadian, which is pretty reasonable, I would say, considering there are a lot of colors in this palette. You couldn't get a palette with as many colors for, I'd say, that cheap, and they are all really good. Now, of course, you can use code JAMES for 10% off, so overall, it's not that expensive. I ordered the palette on a Thursday, and it was actually in the Tuesday, which was super fast. The palette didn't come cracked or broken, which is definitely a pro. It came in bubble wrap and in its original packaging in the nice white box. So that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to give the video a huge thumbs up and hit the big red subscribe button down below for updates and everything you need to know about this channel. Also, please follow my Instagram at Beauty Through the Eyes of Zoe for updates of when I'll be posting and previews for each video every week. Overall, I was super impressed with the palette today and I'll be definitely using it in future videos. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next week. Bye!